Okay. I think we're finally live. Technical difficulties. Anybody out there? Thank you for holding on. Hopefully, let's see. We had to like end the call and start back up and whatnot to get stuff to work. So I'm just waiting for Courtney to rejoin. We'll give that a minute. All right, but we're actually live now, which is great. Okay. Well, hope everybody out there is doing well. I think, yeah. Okay, good. There we go. We are live right now.
All right,
It worked. Turn it off
we're back.
again. Amazing. Amazing. I'm a technologist. I know how to turn it off and turn it back on again.
It's like half of what we do, right?
Man, that's what we get paid big bucks to do. That's for sure. If we got paid big bucks. Um, when
When we get paid big bucks.
Okay. How you doing, Courtney? How you doing? It's been we've been away for 2 weeks. 1 week was a technical snafu. Imagine that prevented us from being able to stream that day, and then last week was like the last day of kind of our joint other side stealth project, finishing that up. Just kind of took the day off for a couple of reasons.
Hmm.
Um,
Take the day off so we could work, really.
Well, I mean, it was working on the thing, but actually by that point we had a like the vast majority of it was finished. So definitely part of it was like wanting the extra time to be able to just kind of like square away a few details there. But also for myself, at least, part of that decision was also motivated by the fact I had been coding like 6 to 7 days a week for like 3.5 weeks. Um, and I just wanted to like not have one more thing on my plate. So
Totally.
uh yeah, how you doing?
I'm okay. Honestly, I feel like I've been grappling more with errors in the last couple days, last week really, than I have for a while. On our project, it was actually a little smoother sailing for me. I've been working on my practice app a bit more and run into well, really, I guess the same kind of issue that you and I were running into before stream, which we can get a little more into later.
Hmm.
But I do feel like I'm leveling up as a result, but I'm like right in the middle of the part that's painful, where you're
Yeah.
like so lost and don't understand what's happening, and then things are starting to click, but it's still not fully there. But
Uh-huh.
I, what I really love is what comes right after, which is the satisfaction of leveling up, getting something to work correctly. So
Yeah,
I
the
look forward to that.
payoff. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I've been there obviously many times myself as well. And I know exactly. I'm sure anybody that's developed or coded anything knows exactly what you're talking about. That middle point is the worst part because that's where it seems the most hopeless. It's the most confusing, the most difficult, the most frustrating. And you're just waiting for that light bulb moment to click, and then suddenly you've got the answer. So, very cool. So here we are back again. So before the stream, we were trying to get something kind of squared away for a second. Ended up not getting something squared away, but I think Courtney kind of has some answers as to maybe why this is happening. And it's because we're too cutting edge. We're just
We're so
too
cutting edge.
on the front of development trends. It's been so many job applications I've seen. Job descriptions have been reading. That the characteristics of the people they're looking for, the developers they're looking to hire, and so much I've been seeing recently, like you know on the cutting edge of technology, always researching brand new technologies. Insert language that about that idea of just like always being on the new hot thing. And I've heard from other seasoned developers before that really like while that's exciting, like nobody builds there because things break there a lot more. Like there's no like you know what I mean? At least big companies don't build there because there's lots of liability. So I
Yeah, Spencer and I are so far on the cutting edge. We're watching ourselves from the future right now.
don't know. anyways, yeah. So why do you want to explain what we're trying to figure out here and why we're having these issues?
Sure. Let me pull up. I'll share my screen. And not something pretty, but something that needs to be addressed immediately because it's red. Um, we're basically running into this. I'll actually go to the code here. So last week we were working on our individual tasks, and I would show you that if I didn't have this big error on the screen right now. But the idea is that we want to have a little trash button on each one of these tasks that, when clicked, actually deletes the task. So simple enough. We've all seen that before. And the thing is, we've been converting to this new paradigm. It is actually like kind of cutting edge Next.js technology, utilizing the app router. We're trying to use server actions, which play into this whole dynamic of like client component versus server components. Idea being, we're trying to reduce the bundle size that we send to the front end, reduce the amount of JavaScript that we are sending and running in the browser. Um, for benefits. Honestly, haven't even tested what those benefits are at this point, but but
They're
I swear
definitely
they're there.
real. They're
Yeah, they're
definitely
totally
real.
they're totally real. Um, and so part of that is, our task component right now is a server component. I like that, at least following um, this design flow. But it's having a problem, even though I'm not getting an error in my VS code right now. Uh, the browser is telling me, hey, you cannot pass an event handler to a client component prop. Um, if you need interactivity, consider converting part of this to a client component. And so, Spencer, you said that this was working for you, but just to show, I think if I can clear this, at least this error, perhaps if I just commit this to being a client component. Yeah, so like I can get back our what do you call it?
App.
Our tasks and everything. Now each of these tasks is a client component itself, but at least I've cleared the error. But that's, I suppose, not in the spirit of what I was trying to do. Um, and I'd actually gone off on a pretty long tangent right before we started streaming, trying to see if I could just solve this kind of off the cuff. And I think I got somewhere, but it would just take more time and a little more documentation or Stack Overflow reading. Um, so maybe you'll all take this journey with me. Um, okay, so
So
what's
can
the
you?
problem?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah. I
go
was
ahead.
just gonna say, like, what's so? Um, the problem is that we would like to keep the task component a server component. Can we maybe talk about, like, do we do we need to keep it a server component? Would it be okay if we made task a client component? Like, what's the drawback of that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's always okay to turn something into a client component, and I'm totally fine with doing that. If we just want to move things along and get to the next thing, that's like a well studied and a well built solution. Um, the only reason in my mind to not do so is that we don't really need much in the way of interactivity on this component. It
Hmm.
just renders.
Yeah.
We're running into a weird wrinkle that has to do with that dynamic. But what we're really trying to do right now, and actually, let me put this back so I can illustrate what I'm saying again. Sorry, my keyboard's a little weird today.
Blame the keyboard.
I know. I know.
It's always my keyboard too.
Oh no, what has happened? Original factory is undefined. What does that mean? Okay. That is a cutting edge error. I've never seen that.
We just peered into the void for a second there. That was Next.js was coming for our souls for a second.
Oh yeah, and it might have them. We'll see. Um, so the idea was like most of what you see here is non-interactive, and in fact, our form. I mean, you can type things into it and everything, but the form itself is actually not interactive. I mean, it's really just HTML that has been uploaded, and then when we press submit, we're utilizing server actions to accomplish all the business logic, basically, of submitting a new to-do item. And so the thought was that each of these cards would be the same thing. You know, we don't need to interact with the title, the description, the date, or even the what do you call it, the priority,
Priority.
unless we want to deliberately update it. Um, but the one thing that we might want to have is both a delete button, which is what we're working on now, and then potentially like an update button that pops up a modal or something like that, which is something that we also want to address and maybe can get to today. We'll see. Um, so, so that was my thought
Would
to
it
answer your
would
question,
an
Spencer.
edit button implement? I keep using the word implement, and that's not the right word. Um, Suggest that the task component needs to be a client component if we're trying to update it on the client. If we're going to try and edit and update it, that's going to mean that it has to like refetch it from the server for that one component, right? Or not?
Um, no, we could revalidate the path, and we actually
That's
do that
right.
already.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Um,
Okay.
but since you asked, just to refresh, where are my actions? Here. That's what this does right here.
That's
So
right.
this is our add task. We make our post call, we put it in the database, and then we revalidate the path. And what happens on the server component that contains all this is it automatically, every time it refreshes or we navigate here, it makes a call and returns all of these. Um, and actually, revalidate path bypasses Next.js's caching mechanism. Because usually what happens, to avoid having to make that call every single time we navigate here, Next.js just caches what set of tasks we have. We revalidate because we don't want just the cache. We want to see like what else is in here now, and
Hmm.
so that's what
Okay.
we're
As I
that's
was
what we would do.
asking the question, I was thinking in the back of my mind, it's like, no, there's something that takes care of this, but we hadn't talked about revalidate path for quite some time, and definitely the server component side of things. I've learned a lot from this process, but you've been the one doing the digging on it, so you know it much better than I do. You have that at recall a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say too. I actually like this. I like this design flow. I think it is pretty new, and so there's a lot of things that will probably get easier or more fleshed out as time goes on. Um, it's silly to say that we're like on the cutting edge in a way. It doesn't always feel that way, but it is like so people have figured out how to do these things, but it's not as straightforward, I think,
Yeah.
as maybe as it could be, or as the docs could make it seem. So with that in mind, uh, I would love to just take a crack at this and always leave our use client backdoor as an option
Hmm.
if this just doesn't work, because I think it's interesting. I have a feeling that server actions, client components, server components, I think these are going to be popular design flows. Less so because of how Next uses them, but because these are React server components. This is like a paradigm that I think they are themselves interested in, and we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
So with that in
So
mind,
yeah, what's our step?
um, so this is what I was thinking. I was doing a bunch of things right before we started, but I think what I would like to do is take a more organized approach to basically turning what is a server function, or it's like a server action that we've defined within our to do. I would love to do that, but just define it within our actions. Um, what do you call it? Define it within our actions file and import it. I think that's kind of the way it's
Yeah.
meant to be
That was
generally,
that
and,
was
and it
definitely an intention as well. My
yeah,
thought
yeah.
behind it was just to put this out in another file. It would basically stay the same thing, and then we just export it and import it. But you're actually saying we're going to convert this now into a server action.
Yes, yes. Um,
So we're going to take this piece of like front end business logic, and we're going to turn it into a back end piece of business logic.
yes, or I suppose so. I suppose that's the way to think about it.
Yeah, because I mean, like the fetch call there, like that's a although fetch probably works on the back end as well. So I was thinking like that's a front end thing, but it's not. Um, there's more to it though that you need to do on the back end to make it a back end process. So
Yeah, the hesitation you hear from me is really because I'm not always sure how to specifically like what the correct terminology for some of these ideas and concepts
yeah,
is. Um, Sometimes, honestly, it just gets a little confusing. Um, okay, so what have I done? I've just copied it, and I'm going to make a few changes. I think we'll remove the try catch, and the reason is the try catch changes the scope of what's happening inside of our function, and it makes it hard. Oh, not what I wanted. It makes it hard to address. Like if we want to, I guess this is not maybe a problem in this particular function, but in my other project, I've been dealing with this specific problem, and sometimes you actually need to check the response before running things like revalidate path and such, and you can't call this inside of a try catch.
Oh.
You have to call it outside, and so if I want to like check if res.ok, then revalidate path, I'd have to do it like this basically. And so we will do that. Looking ahead, should probably do that up here too, but I won't mess with that for now. And what I mean is check that we actually got a response first, a successful response.
And then if it's not okay,
if it's not okay, we got to handle something else, right?
handle some sort of error.
Okay. So another thing to consider, delete task is going to take in form data. We'll go ahead.
So the server action, correct me, server actions, is that strictly on forms?
It is not strictly on forms, though I have not been fully successful in implementing it without a form.
Okay.
And I think since our button is always a client component, like the custom icon button that we designed, we can't use it like a blank button, which is why we can't just pass the action straight to the button itself.
Okay. All right.
I think
I'll stop asking questions. I'll let you cook.
No. Keep asking. It's good because I need to think about this kind of thing too, and really understand what I'm actually saying, what I'm actually doing. Okay. So we'll pass an ID into the body. Let me think about that. Actually, we need to pass the ID actually inside of our fetch call, right? So ID equals form data dot get. I'm going to call this task ID, and we'll have to remember that for later, because all the way over here in our task, I'll need to build a little kind of invisible form here that our button will sit inside and actually activate.
Is that a pattern you've seen other people using?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that definitely seems odd, but I would take from your experience that this just kind of seems like it's the going way.
I actually think there may be another way to do this that is also considered suitable that I've run across and studied for another project, but I'm not like fully familiar with where to start looking for that, so that would be something for another day, I think. Because I agree that this does seem like somewhat hacky in a way, what we're about to do, and I'll explain. Basically, we're going to import, delete task from our actions, which is in library. There we go. And we're going to make that the action of this form. Okay. Action, what don't you like? And part of the problem is that we already have a delete task defined on our task, so let me just remove that for a moment.
Okay. Yeah. Name collision.
Yeah, exactly. Is that what that's called? Name collision? I like that.
Yeah, name collision or variable collision, something like that.
So when we press the icon button, let's double check this, but I'm pretty sure that its default type is submit. Is that right? We don't even pass a type. do we? That is the default type of a button, unless I'm mistaken, is submit. So like that's why you can put a blank button that just has the words submit inside of a
Oh.
form, and when you press it, it submits the form.
I always like to explicitly declare
I do too.
type
I do
submit
too.
to be really clear.
And that's something we should probably do.
Yeah, we could do
But I
that.
won't mess with that at the moment.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so we've deleted our task. Okay, so here's where one of the issues is. We need to actually pass an ID, right? We need to actually pass another piece of information with delete task, because we're not just deleting any old task, we're deleting this task. Now we have the ID handily submitted in every task. It's one of the prompts that comes in, right? And we're not even using it right now in task. But what we can do is pass a hidden input. And this is the part that seems a little hacky, honestly, if I'm being real. But I also think this is maybe the best way to do this at the moment. Okay. We give it a default value because we just want it to initiate with this value, and then we're going to pull the value from this inside of our, where'd it go? Inside of our delete task
And
function.
this is the beauty of form data, is that
yes,
it wraps up all of the inputs and items inside of a form and sends it along as one neatly organized package, and then you can just pull your input out of that form data.
oops, not that, that. Maybe even that, actually. Still doesn't like this. Why? I only specify known properties. An ID does not exist in type form data blob.
So ID in task is an optional field in the interface. So you might need to like nullish coalesce it or something just to make sure something happens there. So if you go to like default value ID, so yeah, in the task type, I checked it. It's
Is that over here in types?
Yeah, ID is optional.
Oh, I see. So okay, and then this is saying.
So I think in task, when you're passing it to that hidden input.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I think you should just nullish coalesce it there.
Or is this nullish coalescing?
Yeah, nullish coalesce it.
Okay. Okay.
That didn't make it go away.
No. Don't we love when that happens?
What's the top of that error message? No overload. Okay, overload input string URL request. Promise response gave the following. Object literal may only specify known properties, and ID does not exist. Body. So you're trying to pull ID out of form data, and does ID exist in the form data though? I don't think.
So I'm saying ID is equal to task ID.
Form data. Is there a way to console log what we're getting back from that form data.get? Can we try and
yeah, let's do that first.
Let's try and call this and see what we're getting there.
I'm gonna go ahead and comment the rest of this out. Let's just see if we can get a response here. Okay. What don't you like? Oh, you don't like delete task. Oh, I guess this is the other thing I have to do, which is no longer pass delete task. Refreshing. Delete task is not defined.
Okay, it's on the input inside of or the interface maybe inside of task.
Oh, I see. No, I got that.
Oh, we got that.
And I got this one too. Is there anywhere else that has? Oh no, delete task. This one is defined up
Yeah.
here. Okay, hold on. Maybe it just needs to
Yeah,
refresh.
refresh. I was gonna.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so if
So
you click the delete button, do we get the console log on the server side, maybe?
it's hard to say. Okay, so what I should actually do is give myself something easy to see. I like these equal signs. This is something I learned in my boot camp, but it's like it just makes it really easy to like pick out of
Mm.
all the gobbledygook that posts in the console basically, or the terminal.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and remove or just comment out this console.log because it's just so
Yeah.
much stuff to look through. Okay, how we feel. Refresh the page. Try this again. Ah, so it's passing nothing for ID.
There we go. Okay.
So what's the problem there? I guess.
Oh,
How about?
I was suggesting that we console log the form data
Okay, let's
so
try
we can
that.
see what we're actually getting in the function. Do we
What
need
is this?
to
Oh, do I need to restart the whole? Because you notice that I'm still getting the console
Yeah,
log
I see that.
from. So
Yeah.
maybe that's. But then I also did just get this, so it's hard to
Yeah.
say.
Maybe refresh the browser and press the button and
Rebuild.
because even that's like even though that's server side, it's still kind of being controlled through the browser interactions here too.
Oh, maybe this is
That
getting
that's
called somewhere
that
else.
must be coming, yeah, coming from somewhere else.
Well, let me see. We get tasks on the page, I think. Oh yeah, here it is.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So no one else. Let's try this again. Okay.
Form data.
Oh, maybe. Okay. So maybe that default value is not doing what I was hoping. In the task on this hidden component, I'm passing default value equal to ID. I saw an error. Let me just see what happens if I do this. This is what it didn't like. A component is changing an uncontrolled input to be controlled. This is likely caused by the value changing from undefined to a defined value, which should not happen.
Mm-hmm. I've seen this. Yeah.
Okay.
It was something to do with like the like it says uncontrolled component where you're not controlling the state to controlling the state of a component, right? So
So if we give it a
I think that's
deliberate
why
value.
that's the value. That's why it doesn't like that value um, on there because we're putting in the ID, and then the ID
Okay.
is the ID is going to probably start as undefined until it comes through as a number, and then it's changing the value on the input. So it starts as an uncontrolled component and then
So
becomes
what
a
are we?
controlled component. I think.
Okay. What are we getting then when we on our action when we form data.get? We're doing this already up here, right? So what is this? Add task. This is on our page, I think. Input name. Oh, it's because we're using. Um, oh, but yeah, these are uncontrolled. But we actually enter the inputs for these particular fields deliberately, right? Uh,
Is it complaining about these, or is it complaining about the like hidden input that you have going on in your form?
no, it's not complaining about these, but what I was trying to figure out is like how are we even getting these? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? What is the right way to pass something like that? Okay, so here's an idea. Time to take to the internet. To pass. data to server action from component. I don't know if that makes sense. Everyone's asking, how do you share it from client components to server? But we are not sharing from a client component, right? Because right here, what we're doing, we're taking our task. We already are passing an ID as a prop. We know that there's going to be an ID at this point.
Yep.
And we pass it into, maybe a better thing to ask would be how to pass value to uncontrolled hidden input. Well, here's the warning. This is old. Yeah, 5 years ago. This is going to be a client component.
I am trying to think about exactly where are we getting the issue here, right? So that's the input, the hidden input in the form,
right?
And we're trying to see that value coming through over into the form data. Default value, it eliminates the error, but then we don't see it over here in the form data that we logged, right?
Right.
This is giving it an ID. Is the ID all we need to do? We don't need to give the input a name. It's the ID right there that we're looking for.
You talking about this?
I mean, I guess there from the input, right? On the input, we have an ID, task ID.
Oh, you know what?
And then
let me try this.
Does that need to be a name? Or
Sometimes
do we also need a name?
That's the case. Okay. Let's try that. I'll be so happy if that's how simple this is. That's how simple this is. All right, look at that. Here's our ID.
Okay, so it needed the name. So it's bringing in each of the elements of the form, and it's looking specifically for a name. The reason that I'm thinking about that is because every time I go to you build out a form with inputs, and then you want to give labels, right?
Yeah.
The labels link, if I'm not mistaken, the labels link to the input based on the name. That has to match, not the ID.
That's right. That's right.
Like the HT, like the 4 on a label has to match the name of the input, I think.
Yeah, not the
ID. Is that correct?
Actually, well, I always forget.
I always,
so often when we're taught ID and name like match, so you never have to really think about that.
Yeah, but they do different things.
I just looked this up. Yeah. One of them is meant for CSS and like selecting for that. That's like its purpose. And the other is meant
okay, so functions. The 4. So element 4. So you can have an ID on a, let's see. So yeah, label the 4. The value of the 4 attribute must be a single ID for a labelable form-related element in the same document as the label. So any given label element can be associated with only one form control. And then that like the 4, their example here, their 4 matches the ID. So here's the thing, is that there's an ID and a name on this input, and they're identical, right? That's what you're talking about, is that they're both always there. But I think 4 might match to the name.
Well, it definitely seems to, and I removed the ID. I removed the ID property from the input and replaced it with name, and we are getting the task ID now, which is good. That makes sense. I think one thing I was losing when I was checking here is that since we were using on the actual form where we add entries, add to-dos, I mean, we created our custom input, and we handle like input name, input type, and all that kind of behind the scenes a little bit. So I just had totally forgotten that I was addressing the name of this input, not the ID originally. So, or we were doing that. Now, same logic basically. In fact, I should probably use one of our custom inputs, but maybe save that for just after we get this working.
Oh, okay. So I might be wrong here, actually. So I'm asking find, and it says that the for attribute of the label connects to the ID attribute of the HTML element.
Right.
Label ID. The name attribute of the input element does not need to match the for. What is the name for then?
Yeah. That's a great question. Because I always thought that the for on a label was for the name as well until right about now.
The name attribute serves several purposes. Identifies form elements for submission. Primary purpose of the name attribute is to identify form elements when a form is submitted to a server. When a form is submitted, the value of the named inputs are included in the form data sent to the server. So this is, yeah, so it has nothing to do with the label and the for. The for and the ID pair, but in our case, we needed the name because that's the name that's going to be associated with the value of that input in the form data.
Right. Okay.
So I kind of confused the subject there a little bit. But these are like the little idiosyncrasies of HTML that I have to like remind myself of every once in a while.
I made things a little more complicated. We don't even need to get a body or add a body to this delete call. Because we grab the ID from the URL.
We're gonna grab it on the back end. We're gonna grab it from the parameters.
Exactly.
Okay.
And just to make sure that that's actually the case, yes, I'm taking parameters.
Params.id.
That's right.
Great.
Good. So this should work. I'm going to go ahead and throw in a console log here just to make sure that we can still see the deleted task. We don't need to pass it because once it's deleted, we don't need to see it. At least not the way that we're designing it so far. Okay. So if all is handled correctly, we're automatically passing the ID into a hidden input, so it doesn't have any presence. When we click the button, it'll initiate the action of delete task. It passes the ID in here. We pass it through the URL when we make our call to our backend or our next backend, essentially.
Yeah.
We hit that API route. We delete. We revalidate. It should remove the actual thing. So which one should we? Which is our sacrificial lamb?
The bottom one there.
Test revalidation.
Yeah, I think so.
No. Oh! Failed to parse URL. Okay. Failing to parse the URL. So why would that be?
Huh. Can you expand that post request up there? Is there anything? I wanted to try and see I wanted to see the full like URL that was being. I don't know. Do you have to expand this box to the left? This whole the console, or maybe not. Just like that local host. It's just okay. Never mind. I thought it was.
Oh, you want to see the network
internal
tab?
server error? I don't know. I mean, it's giving us failed to parse API task. That is so. What does it mean by failed to parse? It's not just saying that there was a server error. Like, are we not receiving it properly on the back end, or is it formatted incorrectly?
Let's see what it says here. Type error, invalid URL. That's right.
API.
For some reason, this doesn't work anymore. We have to do this. And I forgot why that is. This used to work. I know that there were once upon a time you and I were entering just /API.
Yeah, /API would just focus on the one that was here, but yeah. Okay, that's different now. See, it is cutting edge. They're updating it underneath our feet and breaking our app.
Okay, let's try this one more time. Okay.
Let's see. So that happened.
Oh, whoa. Why is it? Gosh, I should have deleted all these console logs. I think I just saw it. If res.ok. Are we passing back res.ok with this call? So what happens with this? We add the task, it revalidates. Oh, I suppose not. Yeah, I guess we never add that check. That is why this doesn't work. I think. Do we just go for auto revalidate just to see if it works?
Sure.
Man, I really wish I could find where all these. Where is this logging from? Because they are showing up all over the place. Oh, it's here. Okay. Let's do that. Okay. Okay, let's try this again.
It's gone, is it not?
It is gone. Well, we made the trash icon less trash. You did that. So.
I don't
Hey!
I don't know. There it is. Okay. Okay.
Maybe you made it more trash, honestly.
I haven't touched the trash icon. I think it still looks like trash.
This is interesting. What is this little turtle doing here? You see this? I've never seen that before.
Easter egg? Maybe it was a slow call. Was it? I have no idea.
Oh, slow server response time. Okay.
Oh, they just mark it with a turtle. That's okay. Funny, clever.
Okay. Well.
Okay.
That
So
works.
server
Is that
actions continue, and that form data system seems to work pretty well. At least it works well enough. It actually works, you know.
Yeah, it works well enough. Maybe is a good way to put it. I hear that. For now, at least.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me save all this.
Yeah. Commit and then.
And then we have some time, and I mean, I'm not in a rush myself. So if you want to take the reins on a little bit of front end wizardry, I'm not mad at that. I'll pass this up so you have access, though.
Yeah. I'm.
Delete. What a journey, huh?
Yeah, that was something. Nice work.
Thank you.
Nice work. I always like when it's a team effort. I was able to contribute something.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly, I don't know. Do you ever find that sometimes you still fix things when you have help from other people, but it's just like having another person there
The
like
moral
really
support
helps.
is just it's really
It's just
absolute.
unbeatable.
I mean, at Nebulae the other day we had a weird issue going on, and our backend developer Shinmuki called me, asked me to join her for a call to try and dig into it, and we started on it, and then eventually she reached out to our smart contract developer Atis, and then he joined us for the while, and the three of us were digging on this thing from multiple angles and brainstorming, and we each made like little comments and noticing different things along the journey, and ended up eventually solving it, which was like this kind of like deep seat, like this deeply buried weird little issue that cropped up from like a state of the project where everything was working, and then something had been changed and altered, and like an option somewhere had been removed, but there had been something put in place that kind of expected that option to be there still, but that pattern never got fully like closed off, so then it like broke part of the app because of that, because it was still expecting a thing to be there that wasn't there anymore. And yeah, like fine tooth comb, like finally finding it and then coming up with a solution to it. But yeah, like it's kind of fun, like have, you know, that process would have been just miserable on your own. And then, you know, the fact that there were the three of us there, and the other two, like they definitely took they're good. They're really good at what they do. And I was just kind of along for the ride, making little observations here and there. But yes, team uh, team debugging feels kind of nice. it's fun, especially when you have like a big error that you're trying to root
Yes,
out.
absolutely. And I
Plus,
pulled
yeah.
the
No, go
changes, so
go
you're
ahead. Okay, cool. Yeah,
yeah, you're just welcome to get them whenever.
it's on master.
It's on master. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and like the thing I realized like right after we started doing this stream together was just that you and I, and this is the way everybody, like, we all think slightly differently. We look at problems slightly differently. We have a slightly different like experience uh trove to pull out of, right? So like I'm gonna notice something that maybe you wouldn't notice. You would maybe notice something I wouldn't notice, and um, it's a fun experience.
It's really useful, honestly.
Yeah, very. Let's see. So get merge. Okay, I got a merge conflict. I thought I reverted my stuff there, but let's go check out what's going on here. Let's see. See, this is all your fancy new form stuff. We definitely want to keep that. So we'll just go ahead and make that our thing. Okay, so now what do we got to do here? We gotta. Okay, I'm gonna delete the brought in delete task through the props as well, because we're just not using that anymore. And the
That's good.
on click as well, because we're not using it. I'll remove another comment as well. Okay, so I'll say fix merge and remove commented code. Let's see. Oh wait, might be helpful if I add those changes before I try and commit them. That's usually how Git tends to work. Okay, cool. So why do I? Okay, so then I have a few. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I believe I'm up to date with everything that you had work in there. Let me check my local build to see if that is accurate. Okay. Well, I might as well just, let's see. Let's bring this over to there. Why not? And
So what we were talking about earlier about, like, there are apparently some gains for adopting this server versus client component infrastructure. I'm still curious to what effect that actually exists. I see this debate all the time online. I see people discussing and saying, "Oh, this means nothing," or "Oh, this means everything," or everything in between. Especially on Reddit, which is obviously a combative place if you spend any time there.
No,
some people swear
really?
by the changes. Some people think that it spells doom for Next as a as a front end framework. I'm sure that's
Really interesting.
yeah. Some people
Well,
really
I
feel
mean,
well. And we had a comment actually.
client
Okay.
side is like still available. So if you don't want to build with server components, you don't. I don't know all the implications and all the trajectories of everything either. So maybe I'm missing
Yeah.
something. But
Well, there's complaint that the Next ecosystem changes too often, and that like it's not stable. And we got a comment from Roger Andrews on here asking about if we'd seen that OpenAI switched to Remix. I think for the ChatGPT web app.
Remix, interesting.
Yeah, the front end framework Remix.
Yeah.
From Next. Next was the original one. So I had read
maybe
that
maybe
recently,
some people are unhappy with Next, huh? Trying other things.
potentially. I suppose it could also be. I know we've sort of dealt with this too, but it can be expensive to host through Vercel, and Vercel
Oh
does make
yeah.
it easy to host through them, and they really want you to host your next app through them. So I think that could possibly play a part in it too. It's hard to say.
Yeah, yeah, that's very real. Very real. I was gonna go and try and check out that comment. Somebody actually commented while we're live. We're not used to that.
Yeah, yeah. Most comments for Spencer just come from me, and vice versa.
Yeah, we're really trying to light each other's stuff up. Okay, so you guys having a little
No,
cool. We'll have to continue that like after stream in the comment section. That'd be interesting. I've heard people mention of Remix. I've never used it myself. I don't really know what makes Remix. I have experience in Vue and Nuxt, and I really like the way Vue functions.
me
I've
too.
always wanted to try Solid. I know it's not nearly as popular. I've heard people really like Svelte, and I have never tried Svelte. There's so many
Svelte
frameworks.
developers seem to really like Svelte.
Yeah.
I
Um,
noticed that there are evangelists out there.
yeah, absolutely. And so there's other options, but I mean, like, it comes down to market share, right? And Next/React is just dominant over the North American market. Um, and most of the
Yeah,
world, right? I mean, like, even in like, so from my experience in the blockchain world, um, which is global, very very global, everything is built in React and Next. Absolutely everything
mm,
that I've ever seen, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that the key, um, like, libraries that you use are heavily tilted towards React ecosystems. Like, they're built as hook libraries, right? Like WAGMI hooks.
absolutely.
There's a
Yeah,
WAGMI core. You can use it in other frameworks and whatnot, but like, everybody just goes to React and Next. So
yeah.
even
The
if
bigger the ecosystem and support network, essentially for solving technical issues and stuff, the higher the more of a no brainer, I suppose, it can be for adoption for anyone's particular project. Because like at a certain level, most of these frameworks are interchangeable in terms of just getting it done. I would think. And that really there are probably some higher level, especially when you're starting to work with larger user bases and such. There are probably some other considerations that then make some of these frameworks more viable than others. And apparently, OpenAI saw it fit to change. I mean,
Yeah,
next to your point was the framework powering GPT, and now it's not. So who knows?
yeah. There's this is probably not what it is, but I mean, also, as far as I've heard, stuff like with OpenAI and different AI tools and whatnot, like, some of that user base and funding has, like, drastically reduced over the last, like, year or two. Like, fewer,
Mm-hmm.
like, there was the big hype, right? And then people have started dropping off, and there's been a lot more skepticism about the whole, like, AI is going to steal everybody's jobs thing, because it turns out AI actually kind of sucks at doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
Everybody thinks it's just this, like, magic cure that, like, is going to solve absolutely everything, but it still kind of sucks, to the point where it's actually making some people's jobs harder because they have to go and solve the issues that AI created, like a bad junior developer. um, so I don't know if like a drop in revenue for the company overall would influence a framework switch. I don't necessarily see that, but I have no idea. I don't I'm not somebody that keeps up, like, real close and heavily on all the, like, latest tech news. Um, Maybe as much as I should, but so what I was thinking, just for some quick front end wins, we do. Let's see. Oh, shouldn't this form have cleared? Did we not implement a form clear?
I don't think we have.
I
It
thought I
it
did.
used to it used to clear. I think.
I think that was in our submit handler before we went full server side.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so can we, let's see, quickly here then. What am I doing? So we have the server action of add task. Okay, now I'm not quite sure of how are we going to clear our form
I'm looking into it as we
when
speak.
doing a form action. I was just about to go and have to do some research because I'm pretty comfortable with those front end, the client side patterns, classic React stuff. But this move to server components has definitely thrown a wrench in those patterns. Because let me look. Let's see. I think we still have our thing here, and handle submit. We go through the whole process, and then let's see where we did it somewhere in here, right? That's the change task, new task. I thought at one point we had it for sure. Get tasks, set task.
To default task.
Yeah, that's it there. Yep, set task, because this is just one. Yeah, it's the task to set to default task. But we're not handling the state of these inputs anymore. They're uncontrolled components. So how do you reset? I'll let you dig on that for a second. And while you're doing that, the reason I was doing this is because I want to show how if we just keep adding tasks, this container just keeps building and growing and growing, and we get to a very broken state of affairs like this. So really quick, let's see. So we want to set a max height of I don't even know. I'm gonna put in a hard value for the moment here, and then set overflow. Yeah, that's what I thought. Overflow Y to scroll, and see, yeah. So there. Now it's going to scroll that container nicely. Obviously that's too small, but let's see. I don't have all of my built-in. Let's see. 60. Can we all these numbers like memorized as to like what their actual value is? Yeah. Okay, so that's actually smaller. So that's why I was going for like just a solid. I don't know, 800 pixels. I'm kind of guessing here. Yeah, we probably want to change this based on. Okay, let's go like 500. No, 500 pixels. Oops. Something like that. Maybe we go with what I was thinking originally. 600.
Yeah.
Spread it out a little bit. Okay.
Maybe a little wider also. Is that possible?
What wider? Like the
it just feels like it's really
container?
Yeah, or at least between the tasks and the scroll bar.
Scroll bar. Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking that we could style the scroll bar. We could hide the scroll bar. I mean, we can give. Let's see. So this whole thing, we could give it a padding left of like, I don't know, 5. No, not left. Right. I don't know how I'm thinking in like a mirrored term there for a second, but could do that. So yeah, and then obviously on like a mobile screen, well, there's lots of issues for mobile screens, but we won't worry about mobile screans at the moment.
Probably not right now.
I know that's where we're supposed to start technically, mobile first development and all. But that's definitely a subject we can get into as well. So there, at least now that's going to just contain nicely. And now they seem very lopsided, right? Like our containers here are very uneven. This seems like kind of squished.
It does seem a little squished. I see that.
Now also something that I'm thinking about on the same way of like max and min things. My theory is that the only reason they're all this wide is because this is the longest one. And if we delete this,
Oh.
yep, they're all gonna
Oh, interesting. Okay,
pop
very
in.
cool.
So we also want, so on the task then, if we go to the
Huh.
task component, and this is our li here, we want to, I like putting widths and height stuff as kind of early on in these as possible. I've got a little, like, a generalized, because your Tailwind class names can be very unorganized. So there's a few different ways you can do to just kind of try and organize them. Like you put all of your breakpoint controls at the very end,
Hmm.
and then you organize them, like all the smalls, all the mediums, all the larges, like smallest to largest, and then your hovers, like your other states, like that, also towards the end. I like to put like any flex box and width height stuff towards the beginning, and then everything in the middle is a little bit of a crapshoot. But let's see. So do we want to do a max width of, I don't know, 200 pixels? That maybe is going to be a little small. I still have a kind of hard time. Yeah, that's way too small. Yeah. And we could do this based on screen size as well. Like at larger screens, you can allow them to stretch out a little bit further. Okay, so that's a max. Yeah, so none of these are long enough. So if we went like, skip the description, submit. There. So there's our max, and now it's overflowing. We have to deal with that as well. This is front end, man. Everything is just gonna like go all over the place unless you control what it's gonna be like. So max of 500 is probably too much. 400, like what, a 350 maybe? Sure. Maybe we say a 350.
Okay.
And then the problem here is that this is all one word. What's the, and that's in the name here. So here we want a
Roger's telling us flex call and on middle size flex row, MD :flex row. I don't know what that's specifically in regards to.
okay, that didn't work. I'm just going off the top of my head. Yeah, let me see what Roger seems to be the man over here with the stuff. Flex column, medium flex row. Yeah. So on DVH. Yeah, I know there's opinionated tailwind sorter. I've seen stuff like actually maybe not a sorter, but I've seen one that will like minify it and expand it when you hover on it. Um, let's see, max height, DVH, view height. I don't know if I've seen DVH before. That's new to me. He's saying flex call and then a medium breakpoint of flex row, but I'm not sure on what element he's talking about that he's referring to there.
Oh, I see. Sizing mobile. Okay.
That's okay. I was trying to get just trying to get this to. I got to do like a word break. I can never remember the Tailwind word break documentation.
Word break? What's that concept?
Like right now, our word is super long, and then the idea of allowing it to
break the word up into
yeah,
lines.
like split it. Yeah. I use that every once in a while when I've been building things. I probably use it just about every project, but like I don't have to do it very often. And then, wow, this is not the website I thought I was trying to find here. It's supposed to be maybe, but it's weird. There's no. It seems like it's not loading properly. Weird. Text spacing, typography. Okay. Okay, here. Oh, here we go. So it's literally okay. It's under word break, and then it's just break words, or which one of these is actually the one we want? Is always my question. There we go. See, it allows you inside of that container to break words onto lines instead of
Oh,
holding them.
beautiful.
So that'll at least contain something ridiculous like that. If we had a task with a really long title
I
that
remember
multiple words
trying to deal with that on my my capstone project for my boot camp, and I chose to use vanilla CSS for that project like a madman, and this was really hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta, yeah, like raw CSS takes a little bit more time because there's more keystrokes and stuff. But the thing that I like about Tailwind is that it's pretty much it's nearly a one-for-one control of like vanilla CSS on your stuff, right? There is definitely some very nice utility classes that Tailwind provides. But yeah, so there now we've got the word breaking there, and then if it's a bunch of separate words, it'll break that by itself automatically. We've got this is our maximum width now. Maybe we want to set a minimum width to the same thing for each of these as well. Just to enforce them, at least for the moment. And again, we're not specifically, especially for Roger, because he seems like he really knows what's going on. This is not dealing with like responsiveness at this point. I'm just trying to get something that's gonna be at least somewhat consistent, right? Responsiveness, like this whole thing, nothing is responsive inside of this thing yet. That's a whole flow and process that we have yet to even touch or go through. So I'm not worried about locking this in at this moment. Okay, so we've got this scroll now. We dealt with the long words and stuff, so we can go ahead and delete this. Or we can delete this one too. And maybe even we're going to delete. Oh, interesting. It's not deleting. Is there a problem?
What's
there a problem?
Your terminal saying?
Let's see. Delete task model cause record to delete does not exist.
Interesting.
What if I delete this one? That deletes one of those. Okay. So I got rid of a bunch of those. Oh, okay, there. It's gone. I got the scroll bar, but yeah. Resetting the form.
Yeah, it looks like what we would maybe want to do is some combination of, well, basically creating the form itself as a client component, and then because that would allow us to, with JavaScript, take the form and manually clear it or clear its inputs essentially. So it would be like a mix of server and client. That's probably the best way to handle this. For maybe next week.
Let's see. What component is that in? Let's see. It's not in the page. To do components.
It's the page of to do.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I am. Oh yeah, it's up here. Duh. Okay. Okay. This form, turning that into a component, and then
yes.
So then. Okay. So then what? Like you're in a.
So then we
would still use the server action, right?
Yes, because you can still use server actions and client components.
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
then we have the possibility to, like, what do we do? We add an on click and then clear it through the on click or on submit.
Yeah, what we might do is like the action itself. Like I have to
Okay.
read this a little more in depth, but I
Yeah.
think what the action could do is both run the submit function essentially, and then run another function that we define that resets all the fields.
Okay, so we would wrap the add task, our action here, like in a broader function that would run the add task and a clear component, a clear formed function type of
Yeah,
idea.
and if this article is to be believed, we could potentially even do it right there inside that particular action call with like an anonymous function that would call both other functions that we want. So it would call our action
like
and
like this, and
yeah, essentially.
like
Except
clear
we would
form
then we'd have to pass the form data as an argument to the first pair of parentheses.
here
No,
type
not
of.
there, not there.
Oh yeah. We have to
Yeah, yeah.
get access to it and then pass it through.
And then yeah, exactly. Same way. We'd add
Something like
task with the
that.
form data.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. Sure. Um, unless you wanted to try and do that now, but I mean, we did go over time.
No, let's
Fine.
save that for another time.
Okay, we're good. We got a simple place to start next time then.
That's right.
Okay, sure. A couple little beautification items there. A functioning delete button, which is great. I really want to get onto an edit button and that whole idea of like a modal and the how we would deal with that and stuff too. That'd be really fun.
I'd like to do that too. I think completing the essentially like the REST
The
API
CRUD,
endpoints
yeah.
would be nice. Yeah,
Finish the whole CRUD process. That'd
it's
be
CRUD.
superb. And then we can. I mean, we've been talking about doing like a filter and a sort on all of these as well, right? Being able to sort them by priority, and then maybe
Yeah,
being
sort
able
them by
to.
priority. I suppose there's also like marking them as done as
Yeah,
opposed to just deleting is a different thing too.
yeah. There's a lot yet to do, but cool.
It's so
All right.
funny. Every episode we end with this, I end up feeling like, oh wow, I really want to just like go hard and finish this to do app. I know that's not the point necessarily,
Yeah,
but just because the scope is so simple or the what you're trying to accomplish, it's been done before.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's a pretty simple
yeah.
situation. It would be
We're
satisfying to do.
Yeah, for our newest viewer, Roger, who's maybe not seen our stuff before, and thinks that we're just building a to-do app for our first time, the whole point of the show when we started this out was that we really wanted to explore Next.js, um, and a whole bunch of different front end and back end concepts, just web development concepts in general within the Next framework, and we chose to build a to-do app because it's a very defined uh, set of functionalities, right? We weren't trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not building like the next app that we're gonna like launch and sell and become millionaires off of or anything like that.
Or are
It,
we?
yeah, maybe
The
maybe
to
it
do
ends up
list app to end them all.
yeah maybe it ends up being the best to do list app ever created. uh, but the idea was just that this app, the to do app framework of itself is just a vehicle for going through all these different process, right? I mean, there's a reason why new developers are always told build a to-do app because it forces you to or walks you through like the process of what an application does. It puts you through a CRUD process, right? Taking an input, clearing, deleting, setting, updating, calling, all of those things. So this is just a vehicle by which we are studying and practicing our other development skills, and there's going to be other things beyond this as well, but that's why we're doing a to-do app, and it seems super basic, but um, we've learned a lot through this process. Yeah, it's just a sandbox is the whole idea.
Yeah, between this project, the super secret we shall not talk about it project that you and I have, and then my own personal one, I just feel like I'm getting a lot of different looks into how to use Next. some of our approaches are more client based, some are more server based, and some are mixing. And it's just good to see what's possible, what's difficult, and what makes sense. But
Yeah.
like, next time I start one with a company or with new people or whatever, uh, I think I'll just have a lot more insight on how properly to use this framework, no matter what state it's in by that point. And I think that was always the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. It's just kind of about reps, right? And we're constantly switching the kind of like problem set we're working inside of, right? Like I'm working at Nebula.
Mhm.
That's in Next as well. That's a very different project, much bigger, and learning a lot working inside there. There's our super secret startup project. More information will be out eventually on that. And that was a whole different problem set and different code base and different makeup of everything. This is a different thing, right? So you're also just working on like brain plasticity, being able to just jump into a code base that maybe you haven't seen. Like, we see this like once a week, and then we have to like call back and remember how is it formed and how are we doing things here. It's forcing us to solve different problems and go down different paths. So yeah, just basically trying to code as much as possible in all these different environments, all within Next, but they each have their own differences. That it's just like hitting different muscle groups at the gym, right? We don't want to just do arms every single day, right? You gotta do leg day. It has to happen.
Like day is important.
So yeah, no, no, no. Whoa, I wanted to end. Yeah, I do want to end the stream. I wanted to close my share. Okay. Yeah. So, shout out to Roger MVP for coming in and chatting with us. This is cool.
Yeah, thanks for hanging
Um,
with us, man.
it's nice to, we don't know, we've had a few people pop by, but it's nice to have somebody out there actually chatting with us and interacting and stuff. That's super cool. Thanks for dropping by. Um, any other final thoughts, Courtney? I thought this was good. Like this whole thing with the server actions bit, again dealing with that form data, and then a little piddly like front end stuff at the end there. But
Penalty to you, maybe. Oh man, that's what I need to really work on. I would say for my own portfolio as a developer, I find that I often struggle with the placement and the styling and all that. It's not that I don't know how, but oftentimes there's some amount of like you have to generate some kind of design as a developer. I have worked with designers before where they laid everything out in Figma files with all the
oh,
icons, all the
so
pixels were already
nice.
set, and it was just that was easy. That was a matter of just, oh, I'll just do that.
Hmm.
I mean, don't have to generate anything. I just have to make it so, and that was nice. So, being able to do what you're doing here, which is see something and kind of envision how can I make this look so that at least it's passable for right now. It's actually something that we can show up to next week, look at, and not be
Yeah.
afraid of.
The last thing that I'll say, and this is a thought I had while we were working on our super secret project, um, and then also with stuff that we've been doing here. Um, when we get onto projects that have like a deadline, this makes a lot of sense. But uh, like we were working on a team, and I thought we worked really well together. And I've talked before about how our skill sets are a Venn diagram where we have a lot of common in the middle, and then we both have kind of some specialization that helps to balance out. So we kind of have, between the two of us, we have a very full scope of ability on how to do a project. And then like on the startup project, we ended up very much going towards like our strengths, right? Because we can be most efficient, we can do the best work and get done by the deadline. And we're doing that here as well. But I'm feeling like maybe we need to, maybe not every week, but some episodes. Um, my weak point is more of this back end stuff, right?
Hmm.
Like I have a lot more strengths on the front end. That's where my experience is, but I really want to learn more of the back end, being able to, build out an API. I know it's simple stuff, but I just haven't done very much of it. Um, but again, we're falling back towards our strengths. And are we learning as much that way? Like we could learn more. It would be slower. There would be struggle involved, but almost it would be more beneficial for like me to be doing some of the back end work and you coaching me, and you doing some of the front end work and me coaching you, um, to force us out of our comfort zones so that we build up the skills that we're weaker
Every fiber of my being is saying don't do that, which makes me feel like we need to do
at.
that.
I mean, it as well, being both musicians, we both very much know that when you sit down to play your instrument, we always lean towards the stuff we're good at and that we know really well. And it's incredibly painful to sit down and try and work on the genre or the style or the technique that you know you're garbage at, and like have to try and force yourself to get better at the thing that you're bad at. It does not feel good, but that's where you become a better musician. And I think that's also where you're going to become a better developer. That has to be true.
So you're saying I should start learning drums, effective immediately?
No, no.
No, I'm messing with you. I totally agree. You want to find the places where you're weakest, shore those up. At least if you're trying to build a very complete skill set. I totally agree.
Yeah. Maybe we
Which
can
I'm doing. You're
look
doing
into
too.
that a little bit in the coming weeks about trying to swap out a little bit on those scopes of tasks. Yeah.
No, I love that because I really want to work on like the visual presentation of the applications that I develop, and just the tools of like getting more like getting those reps in of like, oh, okay, this if I want it to look like this, what I have in my head, I have to start thinking in terms of like, oh, these are the classes in Tailwind that I'm going to want to pull out, or whatever, whatever
Yeah.
it may be.
Yeah.
That would be very helpful.
Yeah. And I just need to get used. I need to get used to like actually using rec and res. Like it's just such a I'm not very used to it. I've done it before, but not practiced up by any means. Anyways,
It'll be old hat in a moment.
yeah, hopefully, working towards that full stack tag, right? Um, very cool. So, thank you everybody for joining. For anybody that's out there watching, thank you Courtney for this was fun. I'm glad we had the time to go over a little bit and chat. And yeah, we'll be back again next week.
Take it easy, y'all.
See ya. Okay. So stream on LinkedIn over, and I'm gonna kill our live stream here as well.